She might be working from the Finger Lakes in New York, but she is always a part of Frederick. I'm so happy to have with me today Amanda Haddaway. Her company, HR Answerbox, can help if you are a company looking to get some HR guidance, right, Amanda?
Yes. Hi, Danny. Thanks for having me today. HR Answerbox is an HR consulting, training, and coaching company. And in January, we actually acquired another company. So now we have about 260 consultants that are working with us.
That is unbelievable. Congratulations on that. When you first started your company, what were you doing right before that?
Yeah, so I was an in-house HR director for a local company called Falcomer Equipment Corporation. That company has since been acquired and has a different name, but we had 5 locations throughout Maryland and Delaware.
Okay. And what was your interest in HR? Did you kind of always think that this is what you were going to do?
Nope, not at all. I actually got into HR accidentally. So when I was in college, I interned with a company in the IT space. They were a federal government contractor. And when I got into my senior year, they interviewed me and offered me a full-time position. My undergraduate degree was actually in communications and specifically public relations. And they offered me a job as an analyst, which in the government contracting space is just a fancy name for report writer. And so I started in that job, and my project manager came to me a couple weeks in and said, I have some bad news. Our project lost funding. So I automatically panicked, of course. I had an opportunity to find another job internal in the company. So the company at that point in time was about 1,200 employees. And during the 6 years that I was there, it grew through some mergers and acquisitions to be about a 5,000 person company. But I
Holy
had an opportunity.
cow.
Yeah, so a ton of growth. And I actually got to help out with some of the acquisitions, which was a really cool experience. But the opportunity that I got internally and my first HR job was in recruiting. So I supported recruiting for a contract, actually 2 contracts that we had at NIH and the FDA. So I worked out of Rockville.
Wow. And I think the PR and writing skills and communication are vital actually in recruitment.
Recruiting is more sales and marketing than it is HR. And that was a really great opportunity. I loved recruiting. And then from there, I had an opportunity to take over the company's college recruiting program, which was a lot of fun because I wasn't that far out of college myself. Then I moved into training, employee communications, and then ultimately left to take the promotion into the HR director role.
Well, that's great. I mean, obviously, then that role gave you kind of like the full scope to step into starting your own company. What year did you decide to go out on your own?
Yeah, so I made that decision in 2015, and then we officially launched HR Answerbox on January 19th of 2016.
Oh, wow. That is awesome. So you are a resource that you deal with people all around the country, right? So you are a virtual HR director for, I'm sure, hundreds of people.
Yes, don't tell anyone, but my Frederick clients are my favorites.
Of course, of course.
But we do have clients all across the country. And then with the acquisition of the other consulting company, we now have consultants that are all over the country. And we even have a few people who are based internationally.
What a great reach. And HR is very complicated. It's kind of like being an accountant. There are things that change all the time, new regulations, new rules, and it's so vital for a company to have a resource like yours. Obviously not even to deal with employee issues, but just implementing policy and putting in plans. What is the one thing that you really enjoy about, bringing on a new client and helping them achieve?
Mhm. So I sometimes joke that no one calls me because they're having a good day. They call because they're in some sort of crisis with an employee relations situation. And
Yeah.
so I really love the challenge of getting them through that crisis and then working with them on a longer term basis to say, what can we do to mitigate this going forward? How can we reduce liability going forward? And what can we do to really take care of your employees, but also balance that with the compliance requirements that you have as a company, as an employer?
Do you deal with companies of all sizes and ranges?
We do. However, we tend to have more clients in the small to mid-size business range. And part of that has to do with the fact that a lot of smaller organizations don't have the luxury of having a full in-house HR department. So a lot of companies don't hire an HR person until they're at least 50 employees. Some actually hold off until they're closer to 100. And
Yeah.
so a lot of companies in the Frederick market, but also nationally, are in that under 100 category. And in fact, the Small Business Administration says anyone under 500 employees is considered a small business,
Wow.
which, that doesn't seem that small to me, but that's their
No.
definition. So the majority of our clients fall under that 500 threshold.
Yeah. Yeah. For people watching who might have a small company, what are three like tips you could give? Maybe they're just starting out. Maybe it's like me and you're kind of like this solo person right now, but you're thinking about hiring. What are three things maybe somebody can put in place
Mhm.
to work toward getting somebody like you to help them out?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first tip would be understand your compliance requirements. Even with making your first hire, you have some responsibilities when it comes to labor and employment laws. So make sure that you're aware of which federal, state, and maybe even local employment laws apply. And also, there are some industry specific things. So, if you're in the government contracting space or you're in construction, there are a different set of requirements related to compliance. The second tip would be to figure out what's your strategy. What types of people do you need to hire in order to grow and develop your business? And what are the knowledge, skills, and abilities that those people need to have? But also, what are their kind of soft skills or power skills that you're looking for? Communication, teamwork, being able to be a problem solver, having initiative, those types of things. And then finally, thinking about longer term, what do you envision the company looking like in the next 6 months, the next 12 months, even further into the future? What is that going to look like? Because you want to start preparing and creating the HR infrastructure now so that you're prepared for that growth.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I've worked with companies with an HR team and those without. And I think the ones without are really not focused on they say they want a good culture, they want an employee, they want a certain type, but when you're not leading from the top and have this vision and someone like you to help reinforce that through everything, the hiring practice, the firing practice, right?
Mhm.
These are the types of things I think that can give businesses a really good or terrible reputation in a market if you don't kind of have that vision and someone to kind of keep you on that path.
You're absolutely right. And culture happens, right? So it either happens intentionally or unintentionally. And a lot of times with a smaller business and a business owner or founder, they get into the business because they're passionate about the product or service, but maybe their strengths aren't in HR or accounting or any of those
Right.
really important functions within a business. And so business owners who are really savvy call in people like me, like my team, to help them navigate that.
Yeah, and I say this all the time, even with marketing. It's like leave it to the experts instead of,
Mhm.
maybe making those mistakes, some which can be vital to your brand and
Mhm.
injure that. So yeah, that's awesome. Now you not only run HR Answerbox, but you're very good about giving back into the community. Part of Key
Mhm.
City Rotary is one way to do
Woo-hoo.
that. Yeah. And we invite you all to join us anytime. Just let me know. I'm happy to bring you as a
Mhm.
guest. Um, what made you decide that, the Frederick community was, you wanted to give back and volunteer or do whatever you could?
Yeah, so it started probably back around 2005. So I grew up in the area, but then I moved away for about 10 years and I came back at the end of 2005. And I realized I didn't really know that many people anymore. I had lost touch with the friends that I grew up with. Many of them had moved outside of the area. And so, in a lot of ways, it was like starting over. And one of the best things that I did was I initially volunteered with the Downtown Frederick Partnership. I got involved with Alive at Five and kind of the early years of that event. And then I just started to get more and more involved in the community. And so I had an opportunity to be on the Frederick County Commission for Women. I was on the Frederick County Workforce Development Board. I'm currently on the board of Key City Rotary and the Frederick Chamber of Commerce. And I also sit on the advisory board for 10th Ward Distillery.
What you're doing out there is awesome, and helping to guide all of these different organizations. And yeah, I think it's great.
Thank you. And I genuinely love it. The people that I get to work with in all of those organizations are just fantastic humans, yourself included.
Oh,
And
thank you.
I definitely look forward to the days where I get to be with those groups of people.
Yeah, I agree 100%. So we do invite you to join us at Key City Rotary. Again, you can reach out anytime. We have something at Key City called the Haddaway Challenge. This is a good use of your PR communication skills, my friend. So Amanda
Great.
was speaking to our organization one time and really encouraged people to get out and meet different people, and this is kind of my answer to the challenge, is interviewing as many Key City Rotarians as I can. But I think what you started was very organic yet pointed and really, really successful, where people made a point to sit with or meet with someone they didn't already know, which is so important in an organization of any kind, where you try to not allow some of the cliques to form or people not to feel welcome if they're newer. I thought that was brilliant. So, whether planned or unplanned, I think you did an amazing thing.
Well, I am so overwhelmed by how it's taken off and continues to be a thing in our club. And I have personally benefited from it too because I've gotten to know people in the club that I didn't know.
So, again, we appreciate you taking your time out for us today, and I look forward to seeing you at the next Rotary.
Thanks. See you there.